All right, so our recording has started. So for those of you who are listening on the recording, welcome. We have not covered all that much. You just missed, you missed getting to meet my children. Maybe we'll do that another week and get it on the recording. And we were just talking about how difficult the class frequently is the first week. In fact, most students find that the first week of this class is the most difficult. Once they get their heads wrapped around a little bit of how to get the model out in Excel, it tends to get a little bit easier. We do build on the knowledge from this week, especially for the next 2 weeks. So the first 3 weeks are all on linear programming, and then we branch off into some other topics as well. So anyway, welcome. This is our agenda for the evening. We are going to answer some basic questions about the course. We're going to go over how to use the answer text. I have a high standard for you guys for your write-ups every week. Why? Because I give you a resource that has all of the correct answers in it. It gives you, or it tells you if your answer is correct or not, and then it will give you hints on how to get a correct answer. So I expect a correct answer when you go to write your scenario post. I'm going to talk about what type of questions will be on the quiz. Actually, I'm going to flip that with number 4 on the list, and I will tell you why. As I was going to prepare for the class tonight, I realized that I no longer have problems in the book that I've never worked before. So what I did is we're going to go through problem 332. I think that's a really solid problem for you guys. And then I actually have questions like that would be similar to your quiz questions on that problem. So we're going to do it first, and then we're going to move on to your quiz questions. Oh, and I misspelled over on that email. Sorry about that. Okay, so our 4 is going to be 3. Then, like I said, I'm going to work a problem. Then we're going to go over quiz, the type of questions that will be on the quiz using the problem we just worked. And then I will help you troubleshoot any models that you're struggling with. So if you are struggling with a model, email it to me. Okay. And let's see. For anyone, I'm typing this in the chat, for anyone who just joined and can't hear, follow the directions above to join via the phone. Okay. All right. So I will take questions about the course. If you don't have any, I can take a wild guess as to what some of them might be based on what previous students have asked. You can either ask me via voice if you've got a voice connection, or you're welcome to put it in the chat, and I will answer all of the questions you guys throw at me. So who's got one? Now, Anthony, you've already asked one. Do you have any others?
This is just general questions for the course?
Yeah, general questions about the syllabus, what to turn in, how things work.
Oh, no, I will re-ask this one, although you answered it already, but probably someone on the audience, maybe it's not clear to them yet, but I did ask if the scenario applies only to one problem, which it does, and then would it also apply when we turn in all the Excel assignments to all the other problems? And the answer was no. It only applies to one.
And that was a really good question. Yeah, I want you to take one problem each week and write me a really good scenario based on that one problem. For the rest of them, you're just going to turn in the Excel spreadsheets, and then your quiz every week is based on your interpretation of your homework. So you will need them for your quiz, but you only have to do one write-up for me. Yeah, that was a great point, Anthony, and you're right. That is a question that I'm frequently asked. So, Courtney, do you have any questions I can answer? Okay, not hearing you. So I'm hoping that you can still hear me.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry, I was talking away and I had my mute button on. My biggest thing was how to use the answer text, but I saw that you're going to go ahead and cover that tonight.
Yeah, and I don't mind.
Agreed.
Yeah, okay, well, we can jump right into that then. And I don't mind if you think of other questions as we go through. I will be happy to answer everything for you. I can guarantee you, if you have the question, the other students probably have it too. So I would love to I'd love to help you as much as I can tonight. And like I said, don't sit there and think, oh, I don't want to have to ask that. You know, it's a dumb question. It's probably, I don't think so. I bet most of your classmates probably have the same question, so don't be shy. All right, okay. So let's first cover how to find these answer checks. So if you go to your Brightspace course shell, this should be familiar to you when you go to your course shell. It should come up with the announcements. I actually posted a couple today. Do you guys get notification of your announcements via email? I know you did in MyFire. Are you getting those in Brightspace as well?
I am.
You are? Okay, good. Well, and that's my hope, but I don't see a place that I can force it like I could in MyFire. So, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Let me go back. All right, so what I need to go to is content. Okay. And we're going to go to week 1, which actually is what it already is. So you've got your readings, here's your list of homework problems. It's got a list of the published videos you can find in your Cengage works, your page, and then it has some of the videos it has the videos that I've created so far for this lesson. I also posted another one, an announcement that went through the theory about how this whole linear programming thing works. You don't have to understand it in that much up, but there are some students who like really want to understand the theory underneath, and they feel like it helps them do a better job when they actually get to Excel. So I'm going to leave that one to you. You're welcome to watch it or not watch it. Under your apply section is where you're going to find your answer check. So you should see this chapter 3 answer check right here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. And I have this example file.
I don't see that in mine.
You don't see that?
See it? No, I don't see it. For the answer check, does anybody see that option? I mean, I don't see it.
Okay, is that a common thing that you all are not able to see the answer check in week 3?
Okay, let me check. You said week 3. Okay, hold on. Let me check.
Let's see. Is it saying all conditions? Oh, did you get your 100% on the SEU acknowledgement quiz before you can see it?
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I will do that. Wait, hold on. I thought it says check mark like I did it. Give me a second. I don't want to interrupt your speech. If you want to keep going, I'll double check, but I do have a check mark. Let me see.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
This is Courtney. I don't see it either.
You're not able to see it either. Okay.
Yeah, I completed my SEU. Well, I'll do it again just in case there was a glitch on the system, but I completed it.
Same here.
You know, it looks like it is doing a condition that you must complete one attempt on the quiz answer check before you see it. I wonder if they'll let me delete the condition. Ooh, okay. I'm going to update that and see, and it did. You know, with Moodle, they generally, or with these things, they generally lock it down for online courses, so I can't change much, but it does look like they might have allowed me to change the conditions there.
Now I see it. Now I see it.
I'm so sorry, guys. So, wow.
So the answer check was for the Excel or for the scenario response that we're supposed to provide?
It's for all of your Excel problems. You remember your scenario response you were supposed to provide is based on your Excel problem. So the answer to that is yes, it's for both.
Oh, for both. Oh, okay. Okay.
Man, I'm so sorry. It makes no sense to have it conditioned upon having to submit itself. That's just crazy. So I'm so sorry. My apologies. All right.
It's okay. It happens.
So let's go ahead and go into it. Okay. I have an example. In full disclosure, I asked my, there we go. I asked my administrative assistant to screw up the example for us so that I had to go figure out what was wrong with it to kind of help you guys show. So I don't know. I know there's something wrong with this model, but I don't know what it is. So this is example 327. It's the farmer problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and launch the answer check. And I'm hoping it lets me launch it as, yeah, I can preview it as the instructor. I have always demoed this in MyFire. This is my first time demoing it in Brightspace. So let's start the quiz. All right. So problem one, or I'm sorry, yeah, it's problem one, but I'm sorry, it's problem two. It's question one on our homework question, but it's actually problem two. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one in correctly. I'm going to save that. All right, and we're going to go to the next page, and I'm going to skip, it was 27, there we go. All right, save that, and I'm going to leave the rest of them blank for the time being. Make sure I have that saved. Okay. And I have 3 unanswered questions, which is correct. There's no reason you need to have it grade. I mean, the grade is going to show in your grade book, but it does not count. So, and it's not letting you guys see the feedback either, is it? Oh my goodness. Okay. It is actually supposed to give you good feedback, and it's not doing that. I am so sorry. Let me pull up the feedback that it should be giving you, and we will troubleshoot from there. So,
while you're doing that, so for instance, it says chapter 3, answer check, you initiated the quiz, and it gave you 5 quiz problems, but the homework, it was like 6 problems. So which one is it? How do you know which one is it giving you feedback?
So for problems 2 through 4, I only asked for problem 2. Okay. So you have problems 2, 3, and 4. I kind of considered those one like bigger problem, and then it was also easier because I had already done the basic model for you guys. So like I said, that's problem 2, and then you have problem 27, 28, 30, and 31 as part of the answer check, which is the rest of your problems. All right.
Sorry, I think I may have missed a memo or a message because I thought we were supposed to do like 2, 3, and 4, but you're saying like only 2 out of 2, 3, and 4 we were supposed to complete?
No, you're supposed to complete 2, 3, and 4. It just, because the model is so similar, I only gave you one answer check for it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So here is what the feedback for incorrect answer should have been, okay? So if you have the correct answer, it's supposed to say great work. If you have the incorrect answer, it's supposed to say that there's 2 constraints in solver. Let me see if I can move all this stuff over so you guys can see it well. There we go. Move the chat over here for now. Probably have to move it back later, but anyway, so it should say that you need 2 constraints, and that the directions are to enter 50 and the acres planted for both wheat and corn. And when you do that, you're supposed to obtain the following data, and that then is shown on this chart, okay? Now, this does not make sense as the optimal solution for the problem. It's not the optimal solution. It's just a way to check your formulas, and let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to pull this over here so that I can see them both at the same time. And I'm going to pull my model up. Okay. All right, so now I can see both at the same time. And what it's going to tell me is I need to put in, it was 50 and 50. Okay? All right. So, what my resources used should look like at this point is this labor that number should be 250. Do you see what that is though? It's 250,000. That's like way off, okay? So that tells me that there is a problem in this formula somewhere. So we've got to figure out what that problem is. So let's go look and see what they're referencing. So profit per, so acres planted times profit per acre. All right, I'm going to just put it in again. So profit per acre. Per acre and acres planted. There we go, and that's still showing a crazy number. So oh, I see what we did. Ha! Good one, Cyrus. All right. She referred to the wrong set of constraints. So she calculated the profit for the acres planted here when what she should have calculated was the labor for the workers. So if we change that to the labor available, now it shows 250 and 300. Okay, so let's check the rest of them. And there your acres used is correct, and its profit is correct. It's not correct, but it's showing you that the formula in your cell is correct. So now, if I rerun this model, I should then get the correct answer. And I do. So my correct answer is actually in here, and that you plant 200 acres of wheat and 200 acres of corn. Okay? And you do use all of the resources, you use all the labor, you use all the fertilizer available. What you do not use is all the acres. Notice you have 50 acres left unplanted. Do you all have questions on that? Do you see how to use the answer check, and do you have any questions?
How many, you can only attempt to do it once, right?
The answer check? No, you can do the answer check as many times as you'd like. I want you to do it till you get the problem right.
Okay, and it's so, and once again, I just want to understand, and sorry if I'm asking the same question, but the particular answer check is for a designated problem. It's not for all the problems in the homeworks, correct?
Right, so each answer check, and I can go back and show you the question wording on the answer check. So it will tell you sorry about that. I'm trying to get it to where you guys can see the wording. Come on. Make the window smaller. There we go. So see where it says on problem. That was not what I wanted to do. Okay. See how it says question 1, on problem 2, how many VPX computers should we produce? So that tells you you need to pull the answer from problem 2, right?
Okay.
On question 2, it says on problem 27, what is the profit? Sorry, that should say what profit is the model predicting? Okay. On question 3, on problem 28, what is the total net cost of the optimal solution? Okay, so it's telling you.
Oh, got it.
And what it's looking for every time is your decision cell, the cell that you are trying to optimize when you're doing your answer checks for these.
Okay, so theoretically speaking, if we get, okay, let me think about it. So theoretically speaking, if we get these answers right, then we're on the right track on the model. If we get it wrong, we need to troubleshoot why, and we should get back to the correct answer.
Exactly, yes. You are getting it, okay? Yep.
Okay.
And I want you to go through the answer check as many times as you want. It's a resource for you. It's not graded per se. You can skip it, but I would not recommend you skip it because everything else you do is based on having the right answers for these problems. I would say if you get to the point that your answer check is telling you you're correct, you have a minimum of 80 to 90% of your problem right. There may be a couple. There occasionally still are some issues in it. that maybe didn't matter until you did a sensitivity, but you're going to have your base model right. Courtney, are you doing all right? Do you have questions on the answer checks?
Nope, that actually clarified exactly what I was wondering. So, okay. And now that I'm able to see it, that helps. So.
All right. I actually think last time we posted that document, that Word document that I was working on because we had issues, I thought that they had the issues fixed. So I am so sorry. Let me see if it's in there as well. And as soon as I get done with this class, I will be sending an email to them to get that fixed for you guys so you can actually see them. Let's see. Yeah, see where it says Chapter 3 Answer Check Feedback Document? That actually will tell you, that's the Word document I was just going off of, so you actually can avoid having to use the answer check quiz, per se, and let's make sure it is doing what I think it's doing, but I think it will load all of your answer check. Yeah. So with this document, it will, I see what it's doing. Okay, so it's not telling you the answer on this one. So did you notice that out to the side on the quiz, it was showing whether it was correct or not? It had a little zero, it had 1 of 1 if it was correct and 0 of 1 if it was not correct. So you can, you'll have to get your own feedback. I'm not sure if there's some reason that it can't allow, they're not allowed to give the feedback like they were on Moodle. In Moodle, it happened like directly within the quiz. So I apologize that it's probably not working as cleanly as it was designed to in the last system. But anyway, you have access to all the feedback you need, and you should be able to see this document, Chapter 3 Answer Check Feedback.
So, Dr.
So,
after
that's already
the answer check, then the feedback will automatically populate?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, that it was supposed to automatically populate when you got your quiz results back. It's not doing that, so I guess this may have been the workaround that they did.
Okay.
You could see it, and I apologize. It definitely doesn't work quite as cleanly if that's what it is, but you do have access to it.
Okay.
Okay, so after we submit it, we should be able to see this PDF that you're showing.
Are you not able to see the PDF now? Let me look.
Let me try.
Yeah. Let's make sure we can see it.
Yeah.
So I bet I know what they were trying to do. I think when they gave the condition for the Chapter 3 Answer Check quiz, that you had to complete at least 1 quiz. I bet they were trying to put that stipulation on the feedback, and they got it on the wrong line. That's my guess as to what happened with that.
Okay, my feedback, I submitted my answer check, and then my feedback populated. So
your feedback did populate. Well, yay! I'm glad. Not after I submit it, not actually on there, like where it shows 0 out of 1. But if I go back to the apply section, it's in there. Okay, perfect. Okay. I am glad to know that. So your document will show up after you get the feedback. Okay. See, we are all learning this thing together. So does anybody have any other questions on the answer check, or are we good there?
No, I agree with, I think it was Courtney that spoke. And yeah, I see the PDF file afterwards. Yes.
Okay. Very glad.
Okay.
Anybody else want to chime in, either via chat or voice? Going once, going twice. If you have, I don't mind going back and answering questions later if you're slow to type or something, or having trouble with the technical aspects. So let's go on to the next section. So I gave you the problem that we were going to do, which was it 332? I think that's what it was. So if you have not done so already, go ahead and take a moment and read through problem 332. Micah, go downstairs with Daddy.
Dr. Stukey, how old are your kids?
So Micah is 5, and he's supposed to be with Daddy. He is state. He's hugging Mommy. And he's hugging Mommy, and he's got lasagna all over his face. So, bye-bye. They're really cute, and he's such a sweet boy.
I have a 3 and almost 2-year-old, and then one on the way. So.
Oh, congratulations! So I have 8 and 5 and 9 months. So.
Aww.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, we're excited.
Do you know, are you a boy or girl?
It's a girl. So my oldest is a boy, and then the 2 youngest will be girls.
Okay. Congratulations. So when are you due?
August 7th.
Okay. Great. When do you finish your MBA?
Not until December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, it can be done. I did my PhD with Micah, the one that just came and hugged me with the lasagna face. I had him. I was taking an online class at the time. He was born in week 7 of 12 of my qualitative methods class. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to push it off any further, so.
I understand. Unfortunately, with Micah, I was at the beginning of the journey, so I did not actually finish the PhD until he was 3.5. So.
Oh.
It was still quite a ways.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to read 332 at this point. So what is your objective of this one? First of all, is it a min or a max?
A max.
Yeah, it's a max. Okay. So, and what are you trying to maximize?
Profit?
You're right.
Yep, profit or revenue. Mm-hmm. So in this case, they're going to be the same thing because they don't give us costs that we have to take out separate. They are not always the same thing. Sometimes you can maximize revenue that comes in, but it might not be maximizing profit. So just make sure that you're reading in the questions and you have a good idea of which of those two that it is supposed to be. Generally on these, they don't overcomplicate it and it's one and the same, but there are a few that's not the case. So just word to the wise, make sure you back out costs and you know, like I said, are you doing net profit or are you doing total revenues? All right, so who can tell me a constraint?
The 15,000 board feet of oak and 21,000 board feet of pine are available.
Okay, so boards used have to be less than or equal to oak. Oh, I didn't spell that right. and boards used have to be less than or equal to pine. And actually, we should probably designate these as pine and oak, just so we don't confuse ourselves. And we can do available.
So, Dr. Stukey, so basically when you're going through these problems, like that's pretty much the constant, right? Like there's always an objective, there's like always a constraint, and like it's always going to be, it's not going to be the same, but more or less you're laying down the...
Yes, I'm laying down the foundation. I'll always ask yourself these questions when you're going through it. What's my objective? Is it a min or is it a max? What am I either minimizing or maximizing? And then next, what are my constraints?
Okay.
And I'm going to move these over so that we can see them a little bit better. I shouldn't need that much room on the other side to actually build the model. Oh, and I messed these up. So oak was actually 21,000, not 15,000. And then pine was 15,000. So any other constraints that I'm missing? We've got some other general information, but I don't see any other constraints. So let's go ahead and start putting our general information in. I find that it is generally easier to matrix on some of these, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's do chairs, tables. And so the chairs are going to sell for $300, whether they are made out of oak or pine, and the tables are going to sell for $800 again, whether or not they are made of oak or pine. Okay. And now I'm going to make the matrix. So I've got chairs, tables, and then oak required, pine required. Okay, so to make a chair, we need, we'll do table first because that's what comes here first. So 17 feet of oak and 30 feet of pine. So 17 feet of oak, 30 feet of pine. Okay. And to make a chair, we need 5 feet of oak or 13 feet of pine. All right. So what are my decision cells in this? That's the one I missed over here. Let's go back and put that in. What am I going to let Excel tell me?
Like how many to produce?
How many to produce, how many tables and chairs, and what material to make them out of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tables, chairs.
This one seems to be the most gray one, like, for me to kind of like determine. So would you say it's kind of like always, generally speaking, like it's something to produce, or what would be an easy way to identify the decision cells?
It is the thing that you have control over. So think through in this, if I was a manager, what would I have control over? What decision would I have the power to make? Okay, so you don't have the power to set the price. You didn't have the power to say how much of each was required to make, or how much of each chunk of wood was required to make each product. You didn't have the power to say how much was available. Okay, you have the power, given all that, you have the power to decide how many of each type to make out of each type of material. Okay, so these are your decision cells. So again, your decision cells, what do you have the power to decide? So what we're going to do now, we've got to sum the amount of oak used. Okay, so we are sum those two. Okay, so this is going to be material used, and that has to be less than or equal to the material required. I'm sorry, the material available. So it does not matter what you put in this cell other than it helps keep you from getting confused. But Solver doesn't see this cell, if that makes any sense. So yeah. Our oak available was 21,000, and our oak used is 15,000. Actually, I messed this up. It's not just a straight sum because these are our decision cells. We've got to do our multiplication. Okay, so I need a sum product of the number of tables and chairs made out of oak and the oak required for the tables and chairs for each set, okay? So what that means is if I choose to produce one table and one chair, then it's 1 times 5 and 1 times 17. Okay, the identity law means anything times 1 is itself. So it's essentially 5 plus 17, which is how many? 23, right? So if I do 1 and 1 here, oh, 22, I'm sorry. It should be 22. Okay, and it is. And then I can copy and paste this down. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I will do 2 and 2 here. So let's just figure out what that should be in our head. So it's going to be 23. 13 times 2 is 23 plus 30 times 2 is 60. So 60 plus 23 should be 83. 86, I'm sorry. Yeah, because that's 26. I'm not doing too well with my multiplication tonight. All right. These formulas are both working. They are both what we would expect given the numbers that we put in here. But remember, you're not going to put the numbers in there. You're going to let Excel do that for you. All right, so let's calculate our profit. I think that's the last thing that we've got to do. Oh, no, it's not. This one, we just need a flat sum. We need to know how many chairs were produced overall and how many tables. Okay. There we go. Now, we do some product of the selling price and the total number of objects produced. So let's just put in 1 and 1. So that should be 300 plus 800, that should be 1,100. And there we go. We've got that. Okay, so it's just a quick way to check your formulas. Think through, are they responding as they think that they should be responding when you are putting them in? That also means you have to have a rough idea of how they should be responding. So, do you have questions on the model to this point? I got through it a lot quicker than I usually do with my face-to-face students. So, were you able to follow it? And do you have questions? Let's stop before we go any further. Any cells you need to see? Going once, going twice?
There really should be max rev, right?
Yeah, you definitely can put it as max revenue if that helps you. I don't tend to. I just remember what I'm trying to do with it. But if it helps you to label it, then absolutely, by all means, label it.
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking if it's profit, then we got to minus where's the cost, and I get confused. So in this one, okay. It's just
sure.
Yeah,
these models are simplified in that they don't ask you to calculate cost as well as profit. Okay. They're just asking you to come up with the revenue. Okay. And that's what I was saying. You've got to read the question and see what the information is given. For the most part, they're more simple than they would probably be in a real business application at this point. You can just pretend this number is the cost after expenses.
Okay.
That makes you feel better. If you're doing a write-up on something, though, and they leave out the cost, that's a great thing to tear apart in the model. when you're going back and thinking through it critically. Like, hey, we're basing these decisions on this model, and we think it's good, but we don't really know what the underlying costs are here, and we need to probably make sure we have that ironed out before we go with this decision. That's great critical thinking.
Okay.
All right. Do you guys need to see any of the formulas again in the cells?
No.
No? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Solver. All right, so my objective cell is B14. I'm going to set it to a max by changing cells, and this is where it helps to highlight my decision cells. So it's, in this case, it's B10 through C11, and then subject to my constraints. In this case, I only have one constraint. I mean, it's technically two, but I can put them in as one because they are connected to each other, and the sign is the same. Okay. All right, make sure you put this as simplex LP. This is a linear model when you put it at simplex LP. If you use GRG non-linear or evolutionary, it will give you a good answer, but it may not give you the best answer. So linear, a test that can be run linearly is always more powerful than a test that is nonlinear. So on these, for all of your linear programming stuff, we are going to strive to keep the models linear, not nonlinear. And then you will always want simplex LP. I think you did some in MBA principles. I think you did a couple models one week that were nonlinear. And so you get all kinds of different answers for those. They do have their place, but we're going to, in this class, teach you how to keep them linear as much of the time as we can. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press solve. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
So why didn't we enter constraints into the prices of chairs and tables and the numbers on top from row 1 through 7?
Okay, can you say that again?
So why did we not enter the what I was thinking was a constraint from row 1 through 7? I thought those were constraints that we would eventually.
No, these right here are right over here. You're talking like in columns A, B, and C, 1 through 7.
Yeah.
Those are your problem given. So we've used them all, but we've used them all in different places.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Also, interestingly enough, I thought I had done this one before, but maybe I have not. So I actually got a different answer than. Oh, I see what I did. I swapped the material available. Okay. So it actually should have been 15,000 of oak and 21,000 of pine. Sorry about that. Let's rerun that. There you go. That's what that should have been. Okay. So again, material is oak available is 15,000 and pine available is 21,000. So that's the type of simple switch that can leave you chasing your tail on these. That's why I gave you the answer text. It does help narrow that down. So, there are questions on this model.
So basically, the only ones that the only constraints that we will enter, because on this problem it was only one. There's problems that obviously we've worked on that has more than one constraint, but those constraints is like, okay, we have this much available. When it talks in those terms of using that language of we have this available, to use, or this much employees, or these many resources or hours available. Those are the things we're going to actually insert in the solver.
Yeah, anytime it starts to use the language about resources being available, yes, you have hit upon a constraint at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Stukey, real quick, and I should have asked this when you asked if we had questions on the formula, but where you have oak required and pine required, like the second one down, 5, 13, 17, and 30.
Okay.
Where did you put those? What formula did you put those in?
Yeah. So, what formula did I use, or where did I get the numbers?
No, I know where we got the numbers from, but
okay.
When we were doing our formulas before we ran Solver, where'd you put those?
I put them in this materials used formula.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that's the minimum that's, okay.
So, right, so, and I did the sum product formula. Do you guys understand what the sum product formula is doing?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
When I was looking at it after you ran Solver, for some reason, I couldn't figure that out, but that makes sense why why we did that there, so.
I wouldn't mind if you could explain it, because I understand that you're taking two rows and you're multiplying together and adding and kind of like combining those in a sum, but I don't know, maybe you have a better logic so it can be more ingrained in my brain. Okay, some product is this. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Sure. I would be glad to go over some product with you all. So here, let me give you a visual of what this formula is. And actually, I'm not going to do equals, because then it's going to see it. I want you to see the text of it and not have it do the math, okay? So what it's saying is the formula is 3,000 times 5 plus 17 times 0, okay? And then this formula down here is 13, or actually what I'm doing is, let's see, what order did I do this? So I did B first, and I mean, it kind of doesn't matter because associative law it's the same, commutative law it's the same either way, but, so I did the 13 feet that's required per chair times the number of chairs, okay, which is 0. And then the 30 times the 700. Okay, so that's essentially what a sum product is doing. If we had a chart that was like a different shape, so say it was like a 2 by 2. Okay, let me make these all different. It's going to match whatever the corresponding cell in the shape is. So if I did a sum product of these two shapes, okay, like this. Oh. All right, try that again. I select both ranges. Okay, this is what we would actually be doing. Okay. Let me go down here, just because we're going to need some room. 1 times 4 plus 4 times 10 plus 6 times 12 plus 15 times 2 plus 5 times 16 plus 6 times 48. Okay. So do you see how it multiplies together the corresponding cells in the two shapes, and then it adds all of those? Once the numbers are multiplied, it adds them all together. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Courtney, is that making a little more sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So I'm going to take this back out so we don't confuse people later. So they're going, what on earth is Stukey D? Those numbers don't make any sense. No, they don't, because I made them up. It has nothing to do with the problem. All right. So that's part one of the problem. Part two of the problem is that we want to see what would happen if we increased the cost of oak and pine products separately. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to insert some rows. I'm going to make a whole nother matrix. And I will tell you, some of how these things are set up is based on your personal preference. If Dr. Boland and Dr. Blasto and Syra and I all set one of these up, we would all four probably have slightly different ways that we set it up. And that's okay. They do not have to look the same. So don't stress about did I get the right formatting, okay? It's really kind of unimportant. If it makes sense to you, go with it. All right.
That's where I got caught up a lot this week on the homework, was trying to make sure that the way I set it up, just as far as the layout, was okay.
Yeah, don't stress about the layout. Like, you want it, again, you want it to make sense, and ideally you want to be able to fairly easily copy and paste things, okay? But if it doesn't work, it's okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Actually, this should be 0 and 0. Okay. So it wants us to calculate what would happen. Oh, I'm sorry. It wouldn't be chair and table factor. It would be oak factor and pine factor. So it wants us to vary the cost or the selling price or the revenue or whatever of oak and pine separately. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to take, so pine, or the oak for the chair, and then that's going to be times 1, in parentheses, 1 plus this factor, okay? And same over here, and I'm actually going to have to put all these in because when I set this up, I didn't do a great job of setting it up so I could copy and paste. That's okay, we'll just do them all. So 1 times the oak factor. Okay, so that means, oh, no, that should be 1 plus the oak factor. There we go. Okay. And then the selling price for the pine should be, again, cost of the chair times 1 plus that variance factor. Oh, and it should not be oak there, it should be pine. And here equals pine for the tables times 1 plus the pine factor. So what we should see here is if we change one of these, so if we change oak factor to 0.1, that these numbers both increase. And so if we go up 10%, they should go up $30, right? According to my math. Let's hope that that's correct. Yeah. Oh, okay. So the oak products went up $30, and then the table went up $80 because that was 10%. So I'm going to take that back to 0. Should go back to 300 and 800. So now our pine products, if we do negative 0.1, then this one should decrease by 300, and this one should, this one should decrease by 30, and this one should decrease by 80. And that is what we see. So these are working correctly. All right. So now what it wants us to do is get a sensitivity on these two numbers. So it ends up being a two-way sensitivity. So one-way, how to tell if you need a one-way sensitivity versus a two-way sensitivity. This is a question that I get a lot. If you only have one factor that you want to see what happens when it changes at a time, then that's a one-way sensitivity. If you want to see the interaction between two factors as you change them at the same time, then it's a two-way sensitivity. So I actually need to go ahead and install solver table on my computer. Mine does not stay installed, so you may have this issue as well, that every time you close Excel, you've got to reinstall solver table. So that's what happens with me. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and browse for it. I just make sure that I know where I stashed it, and I am ready to reinstall it. So if you don't have solver table installed yet, that is available on your Cengage resources. All right, solver table. Now, I did have one of our IT guys tell me if I put it in the right folder, I wouldn't have to go install it every time. So I probably need to follow up with that. But in the meantime, it actually tends to work out because I usually have questions about how to install it. That's how I have always installed it, is going through the add-ins process. So I definitely have found that that's the way it works for me. I think I had a student figure out a different way one time, but I know this way works. So, any rate. All right, so now solver table is installed. And so I'm going to say run solver table. It always is going to give you this warning that you've got to make sure that you have an active sheet installed. So we have a one-way table that, I'm sorry, I just messed that up. We are not doing a one-way table. We want to see how the factors vary together, okay? So that's actually a two-way solver table. All right, so your input cell 1 is your oak factor. I'm going to go put that at the description. It's easier to use a description, trust me, than to try to remember what cell reference you used when you were looking at the chart. Okay. So your minimum value is -0.3, your maximum value is 0.3. That came directly from the directions in your text. Now, it does not always give you directions about what about how much to vary, or even what increment to use, or even how much to vary. If it doesn't give them to you, use something that's reasonable. You know, if it is $100 profit, you probably don't need to, or maybe if the constraint's 100 or whatever, you probably don't want to do 1 to 1,000 in increments of 1. That would take a really long time, and it's probably way more information than you'll ever need. So just think through what's actually reasonable in this situation, what might a manager of this company actually want, and let that guide you. For your test, if you have the model done, it's not hard to run a solver table. So if I ask you for something that you don't have a solver table on, it's not difficult to go back and run another one. All right. I did the input values for both of those manually. They are the same, -3 to -0.3 to +0.3 in increments of 0.1. And then the output cell, you always want your decision cells and output cell, especially if you're doing a one-way solver table. I frequently recommend that you do the production plan as well and see how that changes, because maybe, you know, if you use that as a recommendation, you're still going to need to give your boss whatever your new plan is, which you could also get by just rerunning solver if that's what you wanted to do with the new constraints. But in any case, make sure at a minimum you always do your decision cell, and I do recommend that you do, you do your objective cell. I do recommend that you use your decision cells as well, especially in a one-way solver. In a two-way solver, it does get a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. As soon as that's done, I need to go ahead and save it before we have a disaster and my file disappears like has happened in previous classes.
So our input cell on this problem, it's not going to have a number, right? It's going to be I'm just trying to think of the logic of what you did on the input cell.
Yeah, so my input cells, they were both 0. So that's what those cells that I was wanting to change. And something's not right because my revenue didn't change when I ran the solver at all, and it definitely should have. So let me go back to that model and see if I can figure out what's going on. So if I make this 0.3 and this negative 0.3, oh, I know why. Haha, I didn't change this. There we go. So see how when it didn't react how I thought it should, I went back and went, something's not right here. Okay, so I've got to rechange my my calculation of the revenue to include the new cost. Actually, let me go back so I can show you what I did. Redo. All right. So see how this cell was still referencing these selling prices up here? So I hadn't changed that. So I had changed this, and these are changing as I want them to, but I hadn't followed through and changed what cell my revenue was referring to. So I need to change these two arrays. So I can still use this on product, but I need to do the current selling price and the amount that we've made of each product. There we go. Now, that should work better. So if I put these back to 0, then we should go back to 146 like I had it, okay? Now, so I'm going to rerun solver table now. So did you have any other questions while I had it up? Let me delete this model so we don't confuse ourselves. Two-way table. So here's my setup again. Do you have questions on this? It's usually easy to talk about while it's up.
So, I guess one of my fundamental questions is differentiating, and I know you explained it, but I'm trying to find an easier way to understand. When is it that I use a one-way, and when is it that I use a two-way?
How many factors are you changing? So how many cells are you wanting to change? If you're wanting to change one cell and see how that affects things, then it's a one-way. If you're wanting to change 2 cells, it's a two-way. Or 2 cells at one time, it's a two-way. Okay? Okay. So I can run a one-way again in just a minute. Let's finish this two-way first, and then I'll show you a one-way. Okay. Now, this is looking like what I thought it should, with different numbers for every change in the production plan. Okay. So, first of all, of course, as the price drops, our revenue drops. Okay, so that's one important thing to tell here. So our oak factor is along the side, our pine factor is along the top. Okay, so if your oak factor is a -2 and your pine factor is a 0.1, then your revenue would be 133,000. I'm sorry, 1,336,000. Okay, so it would be this cross-reference cell. Your production plan for, let's see, for cell B15, which I believe is, yes, the oak required, or the oak used for chairs, is still 3,000. So what do you notice about this, cell B15? What stands out to you when we look at how this cell changes as the selling price changes?
It remains constant.
Yeah, it doesn't change, right? So your production plan actually doesn't change based on the selling price. What does change is how much money you're making. And so you can confirm that. You still don't, let's see, C15 and D16, so you still don't produce any from, let's see, C15. You still don't produce any tables from oak or chairs from pine, and you still produce 700 tables from pine. Okay. So that's what this is telling you. Let's show you a one-way solver as well. So let's say that we have the opportunity to buy an extra 5,000 pieces of pine, or up to an extra 5,000 pieces of pine. Let's see how that would affect the outcome. So this would be a one-way solver table because I only want to vary the amount of pine that's available. Okay, so our input cell is going to be this amount available. Okay, I'm going to label it pine available. The minimum value, let's see, we'll leave the minimum value at 2,100. Our maximum value, we're going to put it 25,000, and we will do increments of 500. Okay. So, and hit the output cell. You can use control, not shift there. There we go. All right. Let me put in my output cells again because it didn't like something. So F16 is still correct. So let's do the revenue and the decision cells. There we go. All right. So what it's telling us is that when we have 21,000 pieces of pine available, we're going to make 3,000 tables of, or 3,000 chairs of, I'm sorry, that's oak. Is that oak available or pine? I keep messing myself up. That's pine available. Okay, so we're going to make 3,000 chairs out of oak, and we're going to make 700 tables out of pine. Okay. When we have additional, as we have additional pine come available, we still don't ever make any chairs out of the pine. What we do is we make additional tables. Okay. So you can see, I do not know what I just did there. There we go. So you can see you've got, you start with 700 and you got 21,000. At 21,500, you're making 716.66. Obviously, that makes a somewhat limited amount of sense because you can't make a partial table, but we won't deal with any of your constraints right now. And you can see that your revenue goes up. How much does your revenue go up per addition 500? Well, let's figure that out. Okay. Actually, we'll do it here. So equals new minus the old. Okay. So that one goes up basically $13,000 and change. And look, they all go up by the same amount. So what does that tell you is the maximum amount you should be willing to pay for 500 extra pieces of pine? Anybody out there?
So yeah, so what was the question again?
So when you look at this, this is the amount of additional revenue that is earned each time you get an additional increment of 500. So what is the maximum amount you should make? Or what is the maximum amount you should be willing to pay for more pine?
What column is F?
What column is F? Sure. The column F is C16. That is the number of tables made out of pine.
The number of tables made out of pine.
Uh-huh.
So, okay. So, can we say that 716 we need will we'll need 716 and we'll still make the same profit and we don't have to go up to 833? Is that the right logic?
No. So what happens is as you have more pine available, you end up making more tables, and that's why you're making more profit. Okay, it's because you're making and selling more tables.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, but what this is telling you is that you make an additional $13,000 of profit every time you get every time you get 500 extra boards of pine. So what that should tell you is that you probably shouldn't be willing to spend more than this amount of money for your pine, for your extra boards of pine, or you're going to go in the hole over it.
Correct. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
So
all
whatever
right.
number the difference is, we shouldn't have to pay more than that. That's just from the interpretation perspective.
Yeah, that's just as flat. Yes, that's an interpretation. It's critical. Yeah. It's not really asked for in the question. Sometimes I would ask for that in a scenario. Sometimes I might ask a test question on something like that. Usually only if it's asked for in either the question or the scenario, though. Does anybody have any more questions on this model?
If no one else does, I actually have a question about the STS2, because I get it. Like, we're trying to figure out the relationship of these numbers changing based on just looking at all the numbers and the interaction. But like if I were to ask you, what is the optimal selling price solution on this? Like, how do we know? Like, it's just easy to say, right? Like, oh, make 25,000, and like that's the most profitable. But is that really the most convenient position? Is that the logic to have? That's a really good question, and that's where you'd have to know your industry. You'd have to know, well, can I secure more pine, and is it going to cost me more than $13,000? What are my production constraints, right? Because that's not taken care of in this model either. You don't know what the maximum you can produce is in this model, because every company has a point that they just can't produce anymore. They're out of manpower, they're out of machine power, whatever it is, they're done. That's not factored into this model, and that's a question you'd absolutely want to know before you try to implement a production plan. Is this feasible for my people in my facility? So given the constraints, obviously, if you can secure the pine for less than $13,333, you're going to make more money by getting the extra pine and making the additional product. But it does not work so clean in the real world, right? You'd also have to worry about market. Can I sell all this product if I make it? Yeah, it's all well and good that I say that I'd make $800, but we all know that supply and demand has some elasticity to it, right? You don't always get to, you make more, sometimes that means the price ends up dropping instead of staying the same or going up, right? So, yes, those are all really good critiques to this model. And for instance, what other questions just from the purposes of the exam, right? Because other than knowing it and knowing it for the real life, one of the main purposes is passing this exam, right? So when we look at this sheet, other than the question that you just asked, right? Like when we look at 13,000, what should we think? Well, we should keep costs below that, so it makes sense. But what other questions would you ask us as a student when we're looking at STS2 from the interpretation perspective? Like, what other questions should we be thinking of as students when we're trying to solve this?
Great question. I'm going to have you guys go ahead and log into the Kahoot quiz, and we're going to go through a couple sample questions based on that model. So you'll need to be able to view the model while you are taking the quiz. All right. So you can use your computer. I actually recommend you might want to use a phone. Do you both have access to the model other than what you have on my computer?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay.
Yeah.
So what I will do is I will let you view the question, and then I will switch back to the model so you can look at the model for the answer.
Okay.
question, about 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds to read the question well.
Okay.
Actually, I wonder if I can get dual. So what you need to do is go use a device. Yeah, there we go. And go to kahoot.it, okay, and use that game pin to join.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let me do that.
If you have a phone you can do it on, of course you may be on your phone, but to get the audio, but it would work a little bit better to use a phone. So you're on. I'm going to go ahead and start the quiz.
On my screen, I only see the shapes.
Right, you should, on my screen, you can see the question.
Oh, okay, let me read it. Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, I messed up.
All right, so
how many pine tables?
Actually.
Oh. I was looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, you were looking at how many feet of wood it took to produce the table.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So just make sure you are looking at the right cell when you are looking at these, because that's a fairly common mistake that people make, is they don't look at the right cell. Now, on your test, it's not timed. So my students always tell me the music makes it feel so much more suspenseful. But anyway, it kind of makes it a little bit fun, too.
Dr. Stukey, is this, I mean, I know not with the Kahoot app, but is this how our quizzes are going to be, similar to
Yes.
this, based off of our model, or are we going to have to create models?
Okay, so this first week, everything is based off of your models that you did for homework.
Okay.
After this week, I have one review question that's based on the previous week where you create a model. So basically, I'm trying to give you 2 weeks to get comfortable with the material before you have to create the model for your test. Does that make sense? So this is the most simple of the linear programming weeks. So this week for your test, you just use your homework. Next week for the test, you will use your homework from week 4, but you will create a problem that's more simple from week 3.
Okay.
Okay, so the quiz questions are going to be asking basically questions on the problems that we solved already over the weekend.
Yes, and that's why it's so critical that you have a correct model.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right, so let's do another. I have got 3 questions. Let's go through all of them so you've got a good idea on the types of questions. All right. Yay, you both got it. Good work. And so, of course, that is, for anybody watching the recording later who doesn't understand that, is because you used all of, it's the pine. You used all of the pine that was available. Material used 21,000, material available 21,000. That leaves none left that's unused. That's not necessarily the case in all of your models. Sometimes you leave constraints on the table. That may still be the best solution. In fact, your problem 27 with the farmer problem, you leave 50 acres on the table unused. But in this case, all of your pine was used, which is why the answer is 0. All right. Good job. And our last one is over the two-way solver. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up. And I'm going to start the next question.
Wait, but are we using STS1 or STS2?
It's over the two-way, which is these number them numerically, so it's not that STS1 is a one-way and STS2 is a two-way. It just, you did this one first, then we did the two-way first, and then we did the one-way. If I did a third one, whether it was a one-way or two-way, it would be STS-3.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You know what, K1 is pine and K2 is oak. I'm sorry, say the way around. K1 is oak and K2 is pine.
Wait, hold on. What is K1?
Yeah, you know what, I used the, verbiage from the book, so that was bad on me. Sorry about that. Yeah. Let's go over this question. So let's say let's say that K1 is the amount of pine available, and is the variance for the pine, and K2 is the variance for the oak. Okay, so K1 is going to be along this side in that case, and oak is going to be along this side. So let me rephrase this. So what is the expected value if oak varies by 0.1 and pine varies by negative 0.2, and that should be 0.2, not 0.02. So oak varies by 0.1 and pine varies by negative 0.2. So remember, oak is along the side, okay? So it's going to vary by 0.1, and pine is going to is along top, and it varies by 0.2. So our answer here is that 1,438,000, and that's what that was trying to ask. I apologize. I should not have used the K1, K2 there. I will rephrase that question before next time.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Does that make sense as to how to interpret the chart, though?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, well, let's move on to troubleshooting some of your models. I think, Anna, you sent me some already. Let me go to email and pull them up. Is there a specific one you wanted me to go through for you, Anna? Oh, I'm sorry. I have Courtney, not Anna, so I don't know which one Anna wanted me to go through. Anna, and you're not on here either. So, let's see. I can pick one. But Courtney or Anthony, both of you are on here. Do either of you have one you would like me to do? Because you're here, so you get preference.
28. I mean, I don't know if you can go through that model.
Do you want me to use your model, or do you want me to troubleshoot off Anna?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what I do I just email it to you?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Do you want me to email you my model?
Yeah, you email me your model, and I will troubleshoot directly off yours.
Okay.
And Courtney, if you've got any of your models that need a troubleshoot, go ahead and email them. I have found that tends to be one of the students' favorite parts of what we do here.
All right, I sent. And 28, I didn't go all the way through it, but I just got stuck, and I'm like, I didn't know what to do after that.
Okay. I'm gonna actually pause the screen share just a second. You should still be able to hear me but not see the screen. Is that accurate?
I see your screen.
You can still see my screen? Okay. I need to pause the screen for just a second. There we go.
Okay.
All right. You can see me but not see the screen. Okay. So I see 27 and 28 from you in my email, Anthony.
Yeah, just 28 for now. We can do 27, but 28 is the one that I mean, I was having, just today I was having a difficult time with that one.
Okay. So you want to start with 28?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you should be able to see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. So let's use your resources and start there and see what we can figure out that might be missing. So I want you to pull up your answer check and let's put in the numbers that you were asked to on the answer check. And we will start troubleshooting from there. So you did a good job identifying your decision cells. That's solid. So that is indeed units to produce each month. And so we are going to enter 200 as the number of units to produce each month. All right. All right, so actually we probably need to back up a little bit more on this one because you don't really have formulas in here.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I sent you the wrong copy because I had calculated the total cost, but
okay.
I don't know why I did that.
Well, then why don't you send me the right copy? I'll be glad to troubleshoot the right one for you. I do need to remove screen sharing again.
Okay.
So send me that. And so have you got it sent yet, Anthony?
I'm working on that right now.
Okay.
Sorry, my screen froze working on it.
It's all right. All right, Anthony, do you have the, is it sent yet?
No, but if you want, you can jump on like another one or 27 or some other problems.
That's fine. Do you want me to look at maybe your 27?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so again, let's go back and look at, actually, it looks like you nailed this one.
Okay.
So this one looks right to me. Did you have questions on it?
No. I don't know if my sensitivity analysis was correct. That was one of my concerns. I just wanted to make sure I ran that correctly and that it made sense.
Let's look at it then. Okay, so you did a two-way with number of acres available for wheat. And, oh, so you did profit per corn per acre? I get it. So cell B3 is along the side and B11 is on top. So what's B3? B3 is, okay, is profit per acre, and B11 is planting area. Okay, that makes more sense. So you've got the profit per acre here and the planting acre up here. I mean, it is correct for a sensitivity. It is a sensitivity chart, but it wasn't what the text was asking for, if that's what you're trying to come up with. Is that what you were trying to see, if that's what the text was asking for?
I have to look back at the question. So did it not, so we can run like a sensitivity test?
Yeah, so you did a sensitivity test, and it asked for two specific ones. Let's see. Actually, in B, it didn't ask for anything. So in 27C, it says, what happens to the decision variables in the total profit when the availability of fertilizer varies from 200 tons to 2,200 tons in 100-ton increments? So let's see, did you get, maybe that's a two-way.
By the way, you're not sharing screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. I'm so sorry. Let me put that back. All right. There we go. I am sharing the screen again. That was the 20. Okay. Yeah, so this last 27C actually looks like that's what the question was asking for. So D15 is fertilizer. Yeah. So your 27C question is, yeah, your sensitivity done correctly there.
Okay, and then it asks, like, when do each discontinue? But then I was confused at the logic, because it gives you, like, a scale of different increases and decreases. But it's like, I'm just trying to find the logic on, okay, we have all these ranges. Are we not wanting to find, like, an optimal profit point?
What it's telling you is this is the optimal plan, and the expected profit for each of these amounts of fertilizer that's available. Okay, so at what point would it not do you any good to secure more fertilizer?
Let me read what column go up to see which one is the fertilizer column.
The fertilizer is the row.
Oh,
I'm sorry, it's the column. It's this column right here. It's column A. So that's the amount of fertilizer that's available.
So you're saying at what point it would not be feasible to produce?
Yeah, what point would it not do you any good to get more fertilizer?
Wouldn't it be at like 1820?
Yeah, at exactly at 1820. Actually.
Well, what are the constraints to make a fertilizer?
Yeah, what your planting area? So at 1820, you max out your profit. So from 1720 to 1820, 1720 is 1,310,000. 1820 is 1,350,000. If you go from 1820 to 1920, your planting area stays the same, your profit stays the same, everything stays the same. So it doesn't do you any good to procure more planting area at that, and more fertilizer at that point. Okay. So your planting areas 1 and 2. So your planting area 1 is I'm guessing that's what you labeled this cell?
Yes.
Yep. So that's your planting area. Doing that. Your planting area 1 is probably the planting area for wheat, and planting area 2 is corn. Let me paste your formula or your named ranges. Just so I can make sure that I'm interesting. Okay. So what it's saying here is if you only have, say, 520 units of fertilizer available, you should plant 260 acres of wheat and no corn. Your profit is going to be 520,000. Okay. From 720 down to 1,720, you would plant both. Now, varying degrees of both, but you would plant both wheat and corn. So, like at 1,020, you'd plant 245 acres of wheat and 132.5 acres of corn.
Shouldn't the question be as well, where is the point where you can use both at the most and produce also I don't know, because I'm thinking if we're only focusing on max profit, and let's say like on 1820, right? Like we put all of our resources in 450 of whatever that is. I think it's wheat, and we made, $1,350,000, right? With 0 of corn. So is that feasible? I'm just having.
What it means is, with that much fertilizer available, your best. What will best maximize your profit is to plant all 450 acres with wheat.
Okay, and forget about the holding cost for the corn.
Yeah, there's no holding cost for corn. There's no holding cost at all on this one. You just don't plant corn.
Got it. Okay. It's like a forecast.
So if you take each of these as you're given for the constraint, this is how you would that plan is how you would maximize profit for that amount of fertilizer, and then that's what your profit would be. Column D is what your profit would be.
Right. So as a senior manager making a decision or looking at this analysis, we would be best off going with the 18-20 because it's the most profitable plan.
Exactly. Again, you might want to factor your cost of fertilizer in there if you're going a little bit deeper. But yes, it does not do you any good to get more fertilizer after you get to 18-20. You're done.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So let me go and do your problem 20 again. I'm going to take it off screen share.
Dr. Stukey, while you're doing that, I did mine. So I don't know where like the 20s were coming from on this side. My numbers were a little bit different. My profit was the same, but I don't know what I did differently. I don't know if my increments, I'm assuming that that's what it was, that they were different.
That could have been. Did it tell you what increments to use? Or I don't think it did. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it did weird increments. I wanted increments of 100. So anyway, it's very likely. I know Anthony didn't use increments of 100, so that may be what it is. Anthony, it still doesn't look like I've got a profit on this one. Let me put let me put the screen share back on, and I will just go ahead and troubleshoot it as is. Okay, so you should be able to see it again. And there we go. All right. So let's go back. We use our answer check feedback. We're going to put 200 in each of these. Okay. All right. So what formula would you use for your total cost here, Anthony? Since you said you credited it earlier. Oh, I see. You did do a formula. Okay, so let's see. You did a cost subtotal. So that's fine. That'll work.
Yeah, so basically.
Put any formulas in here. All right. So let's break this cost subtotal out just a little bit more. Actually, yeah, we can do it like that. All right. So cost to produce and cost to hold. Okay. So cost to produce is going to be a sum, or is actually we don't have to use sum product. Maybe a little more simple than that. So it's just the units produced times the production cost for that month. And then we can copy and paste this all the way over. Now, anytime you see these number marks, what it means is that the cell is too small to contain the number. So if I write a sentence, I can pretty easily see if it gets cut off, right? Because I can tell, not that my sentence made sense, but the cat climbed a tree. I can see pretty easily that there's more text in there than I'm able to see, right? Because it cuts off and looks weird. You can't tell that so easily with a number. So when the text box is too small to display the number, it just gives you these pound signs. So what you want to do is double click on the sides of the cell once it gets to that little, once the marker changes, and it will automatically adjust for you. Okay. All right. Equals. And I will just sum these because that's an important part of my answer check so that I can see I need. All right, so my cost to hold then, I'm going to have to add some, but I don't want them marked as decision cells because they're not. Okay. Units. Let's see. One thing you're missing here too is a starting inventory. I'm going to go ahead and add a cell that has the starting inventory. I don't want to do that. Okay. Let me do it here. All right. And units stored. All right. So to calculate our units stored, we're going to take our starting inventory plus, actually, let's do this. I'm just setting it up a little bit differently because it makes sense to my brain, okay? Actually, I don't want these where I want them. There we go. All right. Units available to sell. So that is going to be a sum of your starting inventory and the units that you produced, okay? Then that needs to be greater than or equal to your demand. Okay, I'm going to move this up here. Then your units stored is going to be the difference between the units available for sale and your demand. And I am not going to have to worry about that being a negative number once solver runs. It won't be able to be because I've constrained it that I'm going to constrain it that this number has to be greater than or equal to this number. So it can be, it could be 0, but it's not going to be able to be less than that. Ah, I messed that up. All right. Not sure what that just, I'm not sure. It just did something strange.
Dr. Stukey, can you, while you're doing that, can you go over the formula that you put in unit stored again?
Sure. There we go. That's looking right. Okay, so the formula that I put in units stored, sure. So what I did is I took, I've done a calculation of units available to sell, and actually I've only done it in this cell. I need to copy and paste it all the way across. Okay. So I have 200 units available to sell. I have the demand is for 500 units. So my unit stored is going to be the difference between the two. Which, and again, remember, I'm going to constrain this that it has to be less than or equal, so it can't be less than 500. So this number could go to 0, but it can't go below 0.
Okay.
All right. So month 1 inventory. It said to set this to 0 for now. I think you vary it as part of the problem. So your starting inventory for month 1 comes from this is 0. But your starting inventory from month 2 comes from what number? It's this down here. It's how many units you had stored from the month before. Okay. We can copy that across. So that means our month 3 starting inventory is 750, which is the amount of units we stored from month 2. Actually, it's negative 750. Okay. So let me actually put these up some, just so you can see that the formulas are working correctly. Okay. I am going to put them back to 200. We can check the rest of our formulas. All right. Now that we know how many, now that we know how much we're storing each month, we are going to take that number and multiply it by the storage cost per month. Okay. And our storage cost in the last month isn't $20. At least that's not the easiest way to do it. So instead of it making you or costing you $20 in the last month, you sell everything that you have left for $60. So if you just change this to 60, and because we're talking cost, even though we make this a negative number because it's a profit and everything else is a cost. So you just got to reverse the sign. Does that make sense as to why to you? Hoping it does. And let's see if this comes out correctly. And it does. Okay, so our cost to hold is supposed to be 71,000, and then our total net cost is going to be the sum of these two, 119, and that is accurate. Okay. All right, do you have questions on the model so far? All right, so now let's make sure we've got our constraints in. So we have to meet demand every month, and that's the only constraint. Okay, so it says there should be one constraint in solver, that's it. We just have to make sure that we have enough units available to sell to meet the demand. So go to solver. I'm going to set my net cost to a minimum by changing cells B9 to E9 and subject to constraints. Actually, I'm going to cancel out of that. All right. So I'm going to add one. So my units available to sell have to be greater than or equal to the demand. Okay, and it's got to be units available per sale. It doesn't have to be the units to produce because you can store them from the month before. All right, let's see if we can make this turn out. Oh, objective cell must contain a formula. Okay, L7, this should be F20. All right. All right, and I believe that is the correct answer. Yeah, it is. You have questions on what I did there?
So let's say that you know we did the check the answer, and it said it was 152,500, and our model equals that, but we did it in a different way. Like the template does not look the same, but we got the same number. How critical are you going to be in your grading with that?
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, look, like I said, if Dr. Bolin, Dr. Plasto, Syra, and I all did these, they would all look different, and that's okay. In fact, Dr. Plasto wouldn't do them at all. He would tell you to come see me.
Okay.
You can tell him I said
then it makes sense, because I'm over here like why did I think the first initial template, but then you came up with a different one? And I don't know, maybe somehow through the way that I was thinking, I could have gotten that same answer. It's like, how critical. But okay, thank you for that answer.
Yeah, I think I would have had a hard time getting there using your template. Usually if I can get there using a student's template, I do. But you were missing some of the critical numbers, like the units available to sell and the starting inventory, which is why I had to modify your template more than I would usually like to for a student. But no, if you can get to the same number, I'm not critical. Sometimes if you don't have the things broken out, you may have trouble answering the test questions. That would be my only caveat to that.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you have the model right, you can also figure out the answer. So, Courtney, do you have any questions before we go? You have hung in there all night.
I think I'm good. This one I was stuck on, so
okay.
You helped to clarify it.
Well, I'm glad to help. I also don't mind. I'm generally available between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. I mean, I have meetings that get booked, but if I'm available, I don't mind jumping on and helping you guys troubleshoot models through here.
How do we go about that? Because, I mean, like, let's say tomorrow it's like I'm having trouble with one thing and it's like 11 and you have until 1 tentatively, right? Like, do I just shoot you an email, hey, can we get into the join me? Or is there a phone?
I'll tell you, Tuesdays and Thursdays they don't generally have the same time frame available, but if you send me an email, I will get on if I can. You can also just email me the model too if I can't jump on Join Me, and I can usually point you in the right direction via email as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And as a general proposition, if we can figure out the homework, we would be not fundamentally, but we would be on the right path.
Yeah, if you can get to the point. If you can get to the point you've got the right answer, you usually are, at least 90% of the way there. It may vary some a little depending on model to model, but you've got the majority of it if you've got to the point you've got the right answer. It doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to look like the books. That's okay.
Okay. And when we take the exam, does it really focus on these problems from the practical perspective, or also it focuses on a lot of conceptual understanding, or knowing these terms and definitions that are important on the chapter?
It focuses on your ability to interpret the model. So the types of questions I showed you on the Kahoot quiz are exactly the types of questions I would have asked on this model if it were on that model. I'm sorry, if it were on the test.
Okay. Perfect. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, I definitely appreciate you both taking the time to jump on tonight. Anna, I don't know if you're able to hear us, but if you are, thank you for joining us as well. I will try to get the recording posted online as soon as I can, so you guys can go back to it if you need to for anything, and I will see you all here next week. Same time, same link, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Stukey.
You're welcome. Have a good night, guys.
You too. Bye.